Every time I look at the FZR in its naked state, I remember back to when I first got it, and it didn't have any of the fairing parts on. I thought I was going to make a Street Fighter out of it and took it for a ride. But the reality is every one of these bikes has some kind of a story, some kind of an adventure. They all have become like my children. They've become part of my life. And just like most children, sometimes they're good, sometimes not so good. So what I did this morning, I looked to see where that airbox was rubbing. It's certainly not even close to rubbing through, so that's no big deal. I was wondering if I had to change something. Keep in mind, everything here is rubber mounted anyway, so it's really no way to make it any stiffer than it is right from the factory. Now, I've got to work outside today for one reason. Miles is coming over. He's going to stay with us. And I don't want to have any work. I don't want to have any dust. I don't want to have any smell, any Bondo, any acetone, anything inside the house. So whenever I know he's going to be here, I try to plan working outside. And it is an acceptable day. It does look like it might rain. Certainly not as much fun as working inside, but then there's a lot less mess to clean up. And it looks like the sun's peeking out, but I wouldn't hold my breath that we're not going to be in rain in about another hour. Kind of a gloomy day. But the good news is we've got the watershed of Steve's job ready to do the masking, back masking, whenever Steve's available. We've moved along on our project, and the biggest one of all is that tank. We're going to get some work done on that tank today. Now, I worked on this, but because I didn't want to make sanding dust inside the house, I did this all with the blue wheel. Today, I've got to take it outside the Bondo, of course. I want to get most of that, as much of it off as I can, roughen it up so the new Bondo will stick. And luckily, I'll be able to do that outside, although it's really not a nice day. So the first thing I did, so that I'm just working more conveniently here, take an old towel, I stapled it in a couple of places right to the table. When I'm done, pick it up, pull the staples out, put it in the washing machine. What I have, I've sanded up to this point. Now, a good lesson to learn here is you should never really sand this down and let it sit for a week. So my goal is to get this sanded as much as possible, get the Bondo on. I don't know how long this day is going to play out weather-wise, but once I get some of this removed and smoothed out, I've got my power sanders out here. This is a job I could really make a mess in a house with. Karen thanks me every time I go outside and do this, and she doesn't like the smell of Bondo either. So what I roughly did is just rough this out. Now I'm going to try to get it. I see something, there's Bondo underneath the Bondo. So I'm going to try to get a lot of this out, but I don't want to make a big trough and then have to make the Bondo an inch thick. Same thing over here. I'm going to try to do it, get it into clean Bondo, and with it I'm using a 50 grit sanding this so it's nice and rough. The new Bondo will get a nice grip on it. Now as I look at this, I'm just going to have to take my time. This is that little place I JB welded, just a security thing. I want to get where I have nothing but flat Bondo there. And I'm going to have to build up the shape with the new Bondo. So now I'm actually down through several layers of Bondo, and I'm hesitant to grind any more than this because see I have metal coming up here, and what that means is this tank has a ripple in it. If I keep grinding this down, it's going to be a problem. So I have enough of this off of here now. I'm going to go mix up some Bondo and try to get some Bondo on top of this. Now the biggest thing is these indentations in the tank where the clip-ons go. I want to fill that with Bondo, and then I want to fill this edge. And that might be all I can do today because it looks like we're losing the weather. But I want to do this outside because Miles is coming to see us today. This is the 4CR Bondo that I bought just for this tank because we have those indentations. And we have this whole side of the tank that's been caved in, I guess, from who knows what, before we even had the bike. But this has been really a good product. It's hard to believe, but the sun actually came out here. Not sure if I'm dreaming. Now what I found about this product, this really sanded out beautifully. They say 20 minutes, but I let it go longer than that. In fact, I think I'm going to let this go overnight, because we're running late on time and Miles is getting ready to come over. We don't want to have anything going on when he gets here. He'll set the house on fire or something. But I'm going to get as much of the Bondo. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll get the Bondo on here that I can. This will be pretty productive, I think. And hopefully get it out in the garage to dry overnight. Look at the sun coming out. You believe this? Like a miracle. Anyway. Now after I get this area filled, what I want to do, I'll fill these with I'll make a different batch. I'll make another batch here. Fill that in. Right now I'm not worried about getting it all super smooth or anything, since this sands out so nice. Well, it definitely looks like we beat the weather here a little bit. Actually, the sun has been coming in and out. Now, this is the whole area that's going to have to get shaped and ground in. I did the whole perimeter there. I wanted to have the tank just slope down without having that notch. These are things nobody's going to see except me. I understand that, but to be honest, I don't care. I want them that way. Now, I just made a corporate decision. Karen came out and said, time to go. And you know what? When Karen says it's time to go, it's time to put stuff away. And we'll pick this up tomorrow. Now, one final Bondo tip here, and believe me, this is not funny at all. I have seen people do this, and I've done it of course too, is you leave some of this on. I'm going to clean these up. You leave some of this on, and what happens is this hasn't totally kicked off yet. So it's still in its process, going through its process. And then you go and dip it in here, and about some of that little stuff that's got hardener in it gets in here. Well, if you put enough in here, this can, when you come back in the morning, this can will be hard. So always you want to clean the thing, and of course acetone is good for cleaning it. But polyester resin, one of the things about any polyester resin, by the way, this has glass fibers in it. I don't know if you can see that up close. The glass, see the glass fibers coming off of there? And that's why this is twice the price. It's glass filled. But anyway, my point was to share information that maybe not everybody knows. One drop of this hardener, one drop in a 55-gallon drum, and that will start off the molecular reaction, and 100 years later it'll be cured. So it's a critical thing. The more hardener you put in, the quicker it kicks off, up to a point that you start losing your physical properties. But it's always a good idea, if you're working outside like this, put the right amount of hardener. They tell you right on here, in German of course, but I know everybody speaks German. So the last thing here is to clean up. Look at this, the sun came out. Now if the baby wasn't coming, I'd already have the bike out of the garage and getting ready to go for a ride. But you know what? Spending time with my grandson is more fun than doing Bondo, that's for sure. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.